The snow fell relentlessly against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 42nd floor boardroom at Mitchell Technologies in Boston's Seaport District. Ryan Mitchell sat at the head of the mahogany conference table, watching the harbor lights blur through the winter storm. At 35, he was the youngest CEO in the company's history, but tonight he felt ancient. The numbers on the projection screen painted a grim picture. 2 consecutive quarters of declining revenue, board pressure mounting, and now Gerald Murphy, his Irish Catholic CFO, was pushing the nuclear option. 20%, Gerald said, his Boston accent sharp as winter wind. 300 employees, we cut them before Christmas. We stabilize by spring. The other executives nodded like bobblehead dolls. It's basic mathematics, Ryan. Labor costs are bleeding us dry. Ryan's jaw tightened. He'd heard this song before. 20 years ago, he'd sat in his family's Southie kitchen, 19 years old and shaking, telling his father he was gay. The same cold calculation had crossed Thomas Mitchell Sr.'s face. The same dismissal of humanity in favor of convenience. "You're not family anymore," his father had said then. As clinical as Gerald was now, Ryan had built Mitchell Technologies from nothing, driven by the need to prove he was worth something. Every late night, every strategic victory, every dollar earned had been a middle finger to everyone who'd written him off. But somewhere along the way, he'd become exactly what he'd once despised. Cold, calculating, distant. His phone buzzed. A text from David Chen, his partner of 3 years. Dinner's getting called. Again. David, the architect who'd somehow managed to love Ryan despite the walls he'd built higher than any Boston skyscraper. David, who'd been patient through Ryan's workaholic phases and emotional distance. David, who deserved better than a man who'd forgotten how to be human. Ryan, Gerald's voice cut through his thoughts. "The board's waiting for your decision." Ryan stood and walked to the window. Down below, through the swirling snow, he could see a Latino family huddled at the bus stop, a father holding his daughter's hand, both of them bundled against the cold. The man clutched a work bag, probably heading to or from some service job. The little girl pressed her face against her father's coat, trusting completely in his protection. 300 families, 300 children who believed their parents could keep them safe. "I need time," Ryan said finally. Gerald's frustration was palpable. "Time is a luxury we don't have. Every day we wait costs us more." "Then I'll own that cost," Ryan replied. Still watching the family below, they'd caught their bus, disappearing into the snowy night, but the image lingered. Trust, love, protection. Everything Ryan had stopped believing in. The boardroom emptied with frustrated murmurs and promises to reconvene tomorrow. Ryan remained at the window, alone with his reflection and the weight of 300 souls he held in his hands. Somewhere in his chest, a long-buried heart began to stir. Follow Heart Stories for more tales that remind us what true leadership looks like. The next morning brought no clarity, only more pressure. Ryan sat in the same boardroom, staring at the same numbers, feeling the same weight of impossible choices. The board would demand a decision by noon. 300 pink slips or 300 Christmas miracles. He called for a 15-minute break and stepped into his assistant's area, seeking coffee and solitude. Instead, he found chaos. Emma Rodriguez, ¿dónde estás?" A panicked voice echoed down the hallway in accented English, mixed with Spanish. Ryan turned toward the commotion and froze. Standing in his boardroom doorway was the tiniest person he'd ever seen there. A little girl, maybe 4 years old, with dark curls escaping from a red winter hat and enormous brown eyes that held absolutely no fear despite being surrounded by intimidating corporate machinery. She wore a puffy pink coat that made her look like a marshmallow and clutched a worn teddy bear with one missing ear. When she spotted Ryan, she marched straight toward him with the confidence of someone who'd never been told she didn't belong anywhere. "Excuse me," she said in careful English, then added in rapid Spanish before switching back. "Are you the big boss? The one who decides things?" Ryan crouched down to her eye level. something he hadn't done in years. "I'm Ryan. I'm the CEO. What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emma Rodriguez," she announced proudly. "I'm 4 3/4, and I go to Boston Public School number 27, and I speak English and Spanish. And I need to talk to you about something very important." The urgency in her small voice made Ryan's chest tighten. What kind of important thing? Emma stepped closer, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper that somehow carried more weight than any board presentation he'd ever heard. "Please don't fire my poppy." The words hit Ryan like a physical blow. His carefully constructed executive composure crumbled as he stared into those trusting brown eyes. "My poppy works here," Emma continued, oblivious to the earthquake she'd just triggered. "He talks to people on the phone when they're confused or sad about their computers. He's really good at helping them feel better. His name is Miguel Rodriguez, and he knows how to fix everything." Her voice grew smaller, more uncertain. "But he's been worried because people are saying the company might let workers go. And if Poppy loses his job, we might have to move away from our apartment in East Boston. And I'd have to leave my school where Miss Patricia teaches me new English words every day." Ryan felt his throat closing. This wasn't supposed to happen. Executive decisions were supposed to be clean, abstract, removed from consequence. "And Poppy needs his job," Emma rushed on, "because he has to buy insulin for his diabetes, and that medicine is very expensive. And if he can't afford it—" Her voice broke. "Please don't fire my Poppy. He works really, really hard. He's the best pappy in the whole world." "Emma, Dios mío, there you are." A man appeared in the doorway, probably in his early 30s, wearing the business casual uniform of customer service and the expression of pure parental terror. Miguel Rodriguez looked at his daughter standing with the CEO of the company and seemed to age 10 years in real time. "Mr. Mitchell, sir, I am so sorry," Miguel said, his English careful but confident, despite his obvious panic. "The daycare had a teacher training day, and I couldn't find a babysitter, and I thought she would stay in the break room. But—" He reached for Emma's hand. "It won't happen again, sir." Ryan stood slowly, his mind reeling. Miguel Rodriguez, customer service level 3, one of the 300 names on Gerald's termination list. A father, a man with diabetes who needed insurance, a human being whose 4-year-old daughter had just waltzed into a corporate boardroom and shattered every comfortable lie Ryan had been telling himself about business decisions. "Mr. Rodriguez," Ryan said carefully, "could you and Emma wait in my office for a moment? I need to finish something here." Miguel looked like he might faint. "Sir, I really should get back to my desk. I'm so sorry for the disruption." "Please," Ryan said, and the word carried more genuine emotion than any he'd spoken in years. "Just give me 5 minutes. My assistant will show you to my office. There are toys there from when my nephew visited." He turned to Emma, who was still watching him with those impossibly trusting eyes. "Emma, you can play while I talk to your poppy, okay?" She nodded solemnly, then did something that nearly destroyed him. She reached up and hugged him around the knees. "Thank you for listening," she whispered. "You seem nice." As Miguel led Emma away, Ryan stood frozen in the hallway. 20 years of building walls, of protecting himself from caring too much, of choosing profit over people. And it had taken one 4-year-old girl less than 5 minutes to remind him what he'd forgotten. Behind every number on every spreadsheet was a person, a family, a child who believed her Poppy could protect her from the world. Ryan walked back into the boardroom where his executives waited, and for the first time in years, he knew exactly what he had to do. Sometimes the most important business advice comes from the smallest voices, teaching us that courage isn't about making hard choices, but about making human ones. Ryan returned to the boardroom with purpose burning in his chest. The executives looked up expectantly, spreadsheets at the ready, pink slips practically printed. "We're not doing the layoffs," he announced. The explosion was immediate. "Ryan, be reasonable," Gerald started, but Ryan cut him off. "I said no layoffs. We find another way." There is no other way, Gerald insisted, his face reddening. We've analyzed every option. Labor costs are our biggest expense. No, Ryan said firmly. We've analyzed every easy option. We haven't looked at the hard ones. He walked to the whiteboard and picked up a marker. Starting with executive compensation, we cut salaries at the C-suite level by 30%, including mine. We defer all bonuses until the company stabilizes. The room erupted in protest, but Ryan continued writing. We renegotiate vendor contracts. We examine our marketing spend. We look at operational efficiencies that don't involve destroying 300 families right before Christmas. Gerald stood up, his Boston Irish temper flaring. This is emotional decision-making, not business in a strategy. That bleeding heart liberal approach won't save us. The homophobic undertone wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Ryan had heard it before. The subtle suggestion that his identity made him weak, soft, unfit for hard choices. For years, he'd overcompensated by being harder than anyone else. Not today. If protecting our people makes me weak, Ryan said quietly, then I'll own that weakness. Meeting adjourned. I want alternative cost-cutting proposals on my desk by end of day. Gerald stormed out, followed by half the leadership team. Ryan didn't care. He had more important things to do. In his office, he found Miguel sitting rigidly while Emma played quietly with blocks, her coat hanging on a chair that dwarfed her tiny frame. Miguel stood immediately when Ryan entered. Mr. Rodriguez, please sit, Ryan said gently. You're not in trouble, Rodrigo. Actually, I need your help. Miguel's confusion was evident as Ryan settled into the chair across from him. Outside, Boston Harbor stretched gray and choppy under winter clouds. I want to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. How is employee morale specifically in customer service, but company-wide? Miguel hesitated, clearly weighing the risks of honesty against the potential consequences. Finally, he spoke. People are scared, sir. We know the numbers aren't good. Everyone's updating resumes, looking for other options. When people are worried about their jobs, they can't focus on helping customers. It becomes a cycle. What would help? Miguel took a breath. Honestly, people just want to feel valued. Customer service especially feels dispensable. But we're the voice of the company. We're who customers talk to when things go wrong. We turn frustrated people into loyal ones, or we lose them forever. That should matter. Ryan nodded. It does matter. I just made a decision to find alternatives to layoffs. We're going to do it differently. Miguel's eyes widened. Sir, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet, but I want to ask a favor. I want to create an employee task force, people from different departments and levels to give input on major decisions. Make sure leadership isn't operating in a bubble. Ryan leaned forward. Would you be willing to lead it? Me. Miguel's voice cracked. Sir, I'm just customer service level 3. You're a man who clearly cares about this company and its people, and you're honest when asked difficult questions. You understand both the front lines and the bigger picture. Ryan paused. And your daughter just taught me more about leadership in 5 minutes than I've learned in 5 years. Miguel looked at Emma, who was building an elaborate tower with blocks, humming softly to herself in Spanish. What would this involve? Meeting with employees? Gathering feedback? Presenting recommendations to the executive team? It would be compensated, of course, and we'd work around your schedule with Emma. Miguel's voice broke slightly. I'd be honored. Emma looked up from her blocks. Poppy, are you crying? Miguel wiped his eyes quickly. Happy tears. Mija. Happy tears. Ryan knelt down beside Emma's block tower. Emma, I want you to know that your Poppy is going to help me make the company better, and I'm not going to fire him. I promise. Emma studied his face with those serious brown eyes, then nodded once. I knew you were nice, she said matter-of-factly. Mean people don't crouch down to talk to kids. As Miguel and Emma left his office, Ryan felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Not the cold satisfaction of a profitable quarter, not the hollow victory of beating competitors, but genuine pride, the kind that came from doing right by people who trusted him. His phone buzzed. David again, whatever's happening at work, I'm proud of you. I can hear it in your voice. For the first time in months, Ryan smiled as he typed back, coming home for dinner tonight. We need to talk. Good talk. Outside his window, snow continued to fall on Boston Harbor. But inside Mitchell Technologies, something warmer had begun. True leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about being brave enough to ask the right questions and humble enough to listen when wisdom comes from unexpected places. The next few months tested every principle Ryan had rediscovered. Gerald resigned with a scathing letter to the board, calling Ryan's leadership compromised by personal agenda. The Irish Catholic Old Guard, led by board patriarch Brendan O'Sullivan, scheduled an emergency meeting questioning Ryan's judgment. This emotional decision-making is exactly what we feared, O'Sullivan said, his thick Boston accent laced with disapproval. Perhaps the stress of your lifestyle choices is affecting your business acumen. The barely veiled homophobia stung, but Ryan had learned something from watching Miguel navigate workplace bias. Instead of defensive anger, he responded with data. Employee productivity is up 12% since we announced no layoffs. Customer satisfaction scores have improved. Our vendor renegotiations saved $2 million. Miguel Rodriguez's task force identified operational efficiencies we'd missed for years. But the real test came from an unexpected source. His father called on a rainy Thursday evening. Ryan, what the hell are you doing up there? Thomas Mitchell Sr.'s voice carried across the phone line like judgment itself. I built this company on tough decisions, not bleeding heart nonsense. You built this company on good people. Dad, Ryan replied quietly. I'm just remembering that. Good people don't pay the bills when the market tanks. Ryan thought of Emma's trusting face, of Miguel's careful honesty, of David waiting at home with dinner growing cold. No, but they're why the bills matter. The line went quiet. Then you sound like your mother. God rest her soul. It wasn't quite forgiveness, but it wasn't condemnation either. Meanwhile, Miguel threw himself into the task force work with passion that reminded Ryan why he'd started the company in the first place. They met weekly in the conference room, a diverse group representing every department. The insights were revelatory. Sarah from accounting revealed how administrative inefficiencies were costing thousands monthly. James from IT showed how employee fear was creating help desk bottlenecks. Maria from shipping explained how better coordination could reduce overtime costs. The solutions were always there, Miguel told Ryan after one particularly productive session. People just needed permission to speak up. The financial turnaround wasn't immediate, but it was real. By spring, the company had stabilized. By summer, they were posting modest growth. The Harvard Business School called, requesting to write a case study. Inclusive leadership in crisis, the Mitchell Technologies model would become required reading in their MBA program. But the personal changes ran deeper than corporate success. Ryan started therapy with David, finally addressing the walls he'd built after his family's rejection. He learned to be vulnerable, to admit uncertainty, to ask for help. Miguel enrolled in evening classes at Bunker Hill Community College, working toward a business degree. Emma helped him practice English presentations, her 4-year-old confidence infectious. My poppy's going to be a manager, she announced proudly at the company's summer picnic. He's going to help other people like he helped us. The picnic itself was different. Less corporate, more community. Families mingled on the harbor waterfront. Kids played while parents talked shop and shared stories. Ryan found himself in conversations with employees he'd never met, learning names and histories he should have known years ago. David designed a new break room with natural light and comfortable seating. Spaces shape behavior, he explained. If you want people to feel valued, the environment should reflect that. The employee resource groups Miguel's task force recommended launched successfully. LGBTQ+ employees finally had official support. Parents got enhanced childcare benefits. The diabetes support program, inspired by Miguel's experience, helped dozens of employees manage chronic conditions. When Forbes called for an interview about the company's turnaround, Ryan insisted Miguel join him. The resulting article, "When CEOs Listen, a father-daughter team changes corporate culture," went viral in business circles. It wasn't just about avoiding layoffs, Ryan told the reporter. It was about remembering that behind every decision are real people with real lives. My job isn't to maximize shareholder value in isolation. It's to build something sustainable that serves everyone. As autumn painted Boston in brilliant colors, Ryan stood in the same spot where he'd watched that family at the bus stop nearly a year ago. The view looked the same, but everything had changed. Mitchell Technologies wasn't just profitable, it was purposeful. And Ryan Mitchell wasn't just successful, he was finally, genuinely happy. The boy who'd been rejected for being different had learned to lead by embracing what made everyone different. Sometimes the greatest transformations happen not when we change others, but when we allow others to change us. Discovering that our greatest strength lies not in being invulnerable, but in being authentically human. Christmas Eve at Mitchell Technologies felt like coming home. Instead of the forced cheer of previous corporate parties, genuine warmth filled the seaport rooftop overlooking Boston Harbor. Employees had organized a potluck, families were invited, and children's laughter echoed off the glass walls. Ryan stood with David, watching Emma Rodriguez command a group of kids in an impromptu performance. At 5 years old, she'd grown more confident, bilingual chatter switching seamlessly between English and Spanish as she directed her tiny ensemble. "She's preparing something special," Miguel said, approaching with plates of his mother's empanadas. His evening classes had paid off. He'd been promoted to Director of Employee Experience, a role created specifically for his talents. "How are things at home?" David asked. Miguel's smile was answer enough. "Rosa started teaching Emma piano. We're talking about marriage in the spring." Rosa Martinez, Emma's new kindergarten teacher, had stolen Miguel's heart completely. "Emma already calls her Mommy Rosa." "Speaking of family," Ryan said, his stomach fluttering with nerves, "David and I have an announcement." Before he could continue, Emma's voice rang out. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to sing Feliz Navidad in English and Spanish." The children's chorus filled the space with joy, Emma conducting with the seriousness of a symphony maestro. As they sang, Ryan felt David's hand slip into his. "Now," David whispered. "Now," Ryan confirmed. As the children finished their song to thunderous applause, Ryan took the microphone. "Before we continue our celebration, David and I want to share something with our work family." The room quieted expectantly. "This company taught me that the best decisions come from the heart," Ryan began, his voice steady despite his racing pulse. "A year ago, a very wise 4-year-old reminded me what really matters." He found Emma in the crowd, grinning widely. "Tonight, I want to ask that same principal guide the most important decision of my life." He turned to David, dropping to one knee as gasps filled the room. "David Chen, you've been patient with my walls, gentle with my fears, and constant in your love. Will you marry me?" David's yes was drowned out by cheering. Employees surrounded them with congratulations, and Emma pushed through the crowd to hug both men around their legs. "I helped," she announced proudly. Poppy said good things happen when brave people ask for what they need. The evening's second surprise came when an unexpected figure appeared in the elevator. Thomas Mitchell Sr., looking older but somehow softer, stepped into the party wearing an uncomfortable expression and carrying a wrapped present. Ryan's breath caught. They hadn't spoken since that phone call months ago. "Dad." The older man's eyes found David first, then Ryan. "I heard about your engagement. Figured it was time I met the man who makes my son happy." The conversation was awkward, but it was a conversation. Thomas Sr. shook David's hand, asked about the wedding plans, and even managed a stilted compliment about the company's turnaround. "You were right about the people," he admitted quietly. "Your mother always said I was better with numbers than feelings." As the party wound down, Ryan found himself alone with Emma on the rooftop, Boston's Christmas lights twinkling below them. She was tired but happy, bundled in her winter coat with her worn teddy bear. "Mr. Ryan," she said seriously, "are you glad I talked to you that day?" Ryan knelt beside her, thinking of everything that had changed since a 4-year-old wandered into his boardroom. The company that had found its heart, the employees who felt valued, the relationship with David that had deepened, the tentative peace with his father. "Emma," he said, "you saved more than your papi's job. You saved all of us." She considered this gravely, then smiled. "Good. That's what angels do." As snow began to fall on Boston Harbor, Ryan realized the truth of her words. Sometimes salvation comes through divine intervention, but more often it arrives through the simple courage of a child who believes adults can choose kindness over convenience. The boy who'd once been told he wasn't family enough had learned to create a family for 300 others. And it all started with 4 words whispered by a little girl who believed he was good enough to listen. Have you ever had a moment when a child's honesty changed your perspective on what really matters? Share your story in the comments below. And don't forget to follow Heart Stories for more tales that remind us what it means to lead with love instead of fear.